What's up, guys? ATCG here. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. And since we did Dark Magician last time, now we just had to do the second most favorite deck of all time, and it's Blue Eyes. You can't have Dark Magician without Blue Eyes. And this deck has actually gotten a bit better with some new support and with the ban list. It has a lot of tools to OTK. It's not that great going first, but it's really good going second deck. But there are some things you can do to stop your opponent. If your opponent plays more of a simple deck rather than a combo deck, then you can still pull off some pretty good stuff going first. So yeah, and also incorporate a new strategy that helps you keep card advantage, because that was always Blue Eyes' problem. That's when you throw everything on your field, then you pretty much have nothing left. So yep, let's begin. And of course, we're starting off with 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon, the heart and soul of the deck. You cannot play less than 3, same with Dark Magician and Dark Magician deck. This is the card you always want to have access to, and it's the main way you deal damage to your opponent as well. And this deck is actually one that can deal a lot of damage even without Boral Sword. So, because you bring out so many monsters on the field with a lot of attack points, and this is how the deck usually wins. And now we have 3 alternative to special summon by revealing a Blue Eyes from the hand. It can deal problematic monsters, it cannot attack the turn, but you can use it for Link or Exist Material or Synchro if you have one of the stones. You can get it back from the graveyard, so you can use it every single turn, and it's very easy to add from the deck to your hand as well, so you always have access to it. And the last Blue Eyes monster is 1 Dragon Spirit of White. I don't think you need more than 1. Back in the day, it was more useful. We used to play cards like Swilla's Cry to summon it during your opponent's turn as well. But I think in this format, it's kind of mediocre because there are some matchups that it's completely dead against, like Thunder Dragon. This deck really struggles against Thunder because it doesn't have a consistent way of dealing with monsters that can be destroyed. So I don't think playing more bricks in the deck like Dragon Spirit of White is the way to go. And if you just have 1, you can bring it back whenever you want if you have the favorite matchup to summon it over and over again. So it's not like you're going to miss out on it, unless it gets called by the grave, but that's not the biggest deal. Now for the normal summons of the deck, 2 Sage. I don't think you need 3 Sage anymore. It used to be much, much better. People play Veiler with it, but I think it's kind of, you need a perfect hand in order to be able to afford to add Veiler. So I don't think it's worth playing that right now, because Veiler isn't even that good of a card right now. But Sage is a really good monster. It gets you your level 1 tuners. You usually want to get your stones because you need them to discard the grave for either draw power or search, so you can get back your Blue Eyes monsters and summon them during the end phase. And that's how you start building advantage with this deck. And you also have the second effect, that you can send an effect monster from your field to the grave by discarding this from your hand. You can just summon a Blue Eyes from the deck. So that's also pretty good. And the new addition is 1 Safer Dragon. I think Starliege is a really good addition to any dragon deck, either if you're playing level 4 base dragon deck or level 8 base dragon deck, because you can send monsters from your hand or field to the grave, so you can add both. If it was just field, I don't think it would be worth playing in this deck, because the Chaos Dragons don't offer that much in this deck. It's not a Guard Dragon Blue Eyes deck, is just more of a beatdown strategy. But since you can send level 8s from your hand to the grave to add whatever you need, and of course you can add Levianir, which is a broken monster, so I think Starliege is a really good addition for any dragon deck, especially for this one, because it helps with the consistency, which was one of Blue Eyes' major issues for the majority of the time. For the stones, 2 Ancients, not 3. Again, it's a card that can clog your hand if you open multiples. You need a way to send it to the graveyard in order to be effective. If you are forced to normal summon it and make Linkuriboh with it, then that's a very desperate play, but it can happen. So I don't think you need more than 2. And 1 Son of Legend to get your Blue Eyes whenever you need to, because you always need to have access to it. 1 Levianir. Levianir is an amazing card. Since it's searchable with Seifert and Melody of the Awakening Dragon, you can have access to it whenever you want. I'm playing Dangers in the deck, so you can use all 3 of its effects depending on what you need. And it's also a level 8 monster, so you can make rank 8 after you use it. It's a very good effect. For the Dangers, 3 Bigfoot. It's a level 8. It's a really good effect. If it gets discarded as well, it helps you clear boards. It's 3,000. It's really good for a beater, and also has very good synergy with Trade-In, so you can get the full advantage of the draw and the discard effect. And 3 Thunderbird, pretty much the same reason. Not as great as Bigfoot, because it can be dead against some matchups, but still popping face down cards still can be very crucial, and 28 is very high as well. And the only hand drop I play is 3 Ash Blossom. just because it's the most generic one. It'll be live against any deck. I don't think maining cards like Nibiru in this deck helps that much because it's not like it has the worst matchup against combo. There are plenty of ways to destroy cards. This deck pretty much struggles against control decks because you get outgrinded very easily. So I think 3 Acid is all you need. Now let's go to the spells. 3 Melody. I think it's the best spell in the deck because you can just discard anything. You can trigger the dangers with it. You get Levianir, you get Alternative, you get Blue Eyes, whatever you need. It's on once per turn, so you can use it multiple times. It fills up your graveyard with stones, so you can get more monsters during the end phase, and it's all around the best spell for this deck. The second best spell is 3 Return of the Dragon Lords because it offers protection. This is how you grind out your opponent if you're playing a strategy that tries to clear your board. And if you have multiples in the grave, your monsters can become very resilient. And again, it's not a once per turn, so you can bring back multiple monsters. And it's also the way to bring back Dragon Spirit of White to keep banishing more backer with it. And one Monster Reborn because it serves the same purpose, but it's more generic. You can bring back anything, and you can also bring back something from your opponent's graveyard in case they have something you need. Now, I play a lot of draw cards in the deck because, again, like I mentioned, Blue Eyes are a little bit inconsistent. You need to dig into your deck in order to see what you need. So I'm starting with 3 Trade-In. It's the best draw card in this deck because you play a lot of level 8s. The dangers make it even more powerful because you can get their discard effects as well, so it's not like you are losing 2 cards and gaining 2 cards. It's a +1 if you destroy 1 card your opponent controls. So that's pretty much the best card. You can search your targets with Melody. You have a lot of level 8s, so it will always be live. But the same can't go for Cards of Consonance. That's why I only play 1. It can be really good if you have Sage or if you have drawn a lot of stones, but it could be dead, so I think just 1 is good enough. You can play 2, but it's a bit risky because you are risking of not having any targets for it. So I think just 1 is good, but you need it because once you start getting deeper into your deck, you will eventually see it, and it's another way to discard dragons from the hand, which goes with the 2 Super Rejuvenations I have in the deck because this card gave the deck so much more power. Not 3 because again, there are some scenarios where you can't really discard that many monsters. In order to get a full advantage of Super Rejuvenation, you need to draw at least 2 cards during the end phase. But you have so many ways to discard dragons. You have trade-ins, you have Cards of Consonance, you have Melody, and I play another card in the deck that I'll show you later that helps you discard. So yeah, it's very, very good. And you can, if you happen to draw both, it's on a once per turn, so you can draw with both Super Rejuvenations. And 1 Upstart because it's the only draw spell that's always live. You just draw 1. That's very simple. And the +1000 is not a problem for this deck because it can easily do a lot of damage. And the last spell is 3 Super Polymerization. This is the way the deck deals with combo. If you're going second, you have so much draw power, and the opponent usually does not negate the draw power unless it's something really good, like +1 Extravagance or Desires. They would not really negate cards like Upstart or maybe Trade-In. So that's why Super Poly is really good. It's also discards, so you can use this with Super Rejuvenation. You can discard your dangers to pop more cards. You can discard your stones to get your Blue Eyes. And it can be used as disruption if you're going first and you don't have much to do. You can leave your extra monster zone wide open, so you can use this to disrupt your opponent's plays. Now for the extra deck, 1 Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes used to be a very synchro-based deck, but not anymore. You don't even max out on Sage or Stones to go for your level 9 synchros, but it's still good to have access to them. Blue Eye Spirit Dragon can be really good against some matchups. It's really good against Pendulum because it prevents your opponent from summoning 2 more or more monsters at the same time, so your opponent cannot Pendulum summon. And you can also attribute it to special summon Azure Eyes from the deck, and Azure Eyes will protect your dragons from being destroyed or targeted by card effects for 1 turn, and also during your standby phases you can bring back your Blue Eyes from the graveyard so you can get more monsters on the field. For the Xyz, 1 Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon is a very good monster because it technically deals with 3 monsters at once because I also play Full Armor and Cypher Blade. So once you summon your Galaxy Eye Cypher, you take away one of your opponent's monsters, then you rank up to Full Armor and you destroy another card, and you can do the same thing with Cypher Blade and destroy another card, and then you link away the monster that you took with Cypher Dragon, so you got rid of 3 cards on your opponent with just using 2 cards. So I think it's a really good engine to have in the extra deck for any rank 8 base deck. And 138 because it's a card that can be useful against some matchups, especially against Sky Striker or Subterrors. So since this is a rank 8 base deck, I think it's a really good card. I'm not running Photon Lord. Photon Lord isn't that great in a deck that's not Galaxy Eyes because it doesn't destroy the monster, it negates. So if you can't use its effect to add a Photon or a Galaxy card from your deck, then it's not really that impactful. So I think it's not worth running in the deck. For links, 1 Link Rebo, for the reason I mentioned earlier, if you're forced to make your White Stone into a Link or Ribbon in order to get a Blue Eyes from the graveyard. It's not the most optimal play, but sometimes it's the only play you have. So rather than setting your White Stone, at least you can get the Blue Eyes right away. One Heavenly Spheres, really good card for any dragon-based deck. It's a kind of a disruption that also gives you a card from your deck, so I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to play this in a dragon-based deck. This is not a guard dragon deck, but still, this card can be summoned very easily. If you can summon like an alternative or and summon a White Stone, sometimes it's more important to summon this rather than synchro summoning for Spirit Dragon, because Spirit Dragon is kind of situational and not that big of a disruption, but this card is live against pretty much any matchup. For the Nightmares, play one Phoenix and one Unicorn. Cerberus is not that kind of needed. You have a lot of ways to deal with monsters, even if they're problematic, like our card like Eater of Millions. Alternative can deal with them. It's the same as Cerberus. But this deck can struggle against dealing with back row, especially since I run one Dragon Spirit of White. If your opponent finds a way to banish it, then you're kind of screwed against back row decks. But sometimes you just need to deal with this one specific back row to be able to push for games. So that's why Phoenix here. And Unicorn because you can link climb from that and deal with another card. And the last Link monster is Borreload. I run Boros on this deck because I think the deck has a lot of ways to deal damage. You play so many big monsters and the dangers help with that even more. But Borreload is a really good card against Thunder Dragon, which this deck can struggle against, because if you have a hand like with Sage or Melody, you won't be able to search. So if you don't find a way to draw a Super Poly to deal with a Colossus, then if you can get a lot of monsters to the field with the dangers or the alternative, then you can make a Borreload and try to grind there. And for the Super Poly targets, one Starving Venom against Colossus and against Pendulums, we'll play to Dark. I don't run the new Predaplant. I think trying to use Super Poly for 3 Darks is kind of situational. It kind of works against sometimes, and the monster has a good effect of negating a monster that's summoned from the extra deck, but still I don't think it's worth waiting for your opponent to summon 3 Darks in order to use Super Poly. 2 is impactful enough. And one Dragostapelia because against Pendulum players, they try to play around Venom, and they bring out Vortex and other cards, but if you have Vortex and a Jackal, then you can use this to pretty much break their board. One Violet Chimera because Salamangreat is still a very powerful deck, probably the second or third best of the format, so you're going to see it a lot. And one Dragon because against some certain rogue matchups, since the deck has space to play this as well, it's good to be able to make sure that Super Poly is live most of the time. So, yep, that's the deck. Unfortunately, we're not getting any support anytime soon. The next Legendary Duelist is based on the protagonists, so if they're going to get some support for the rivals, we'll have to wait a bit more. But I think the deck is really good right now. It has a lot of tools to OTK. It is decent going first, and of course, it's Blue Eyes, so no matter how not meta it is, people are going to play it and enjoy it and fight a way to make it viable. So, yeah, that's the deck, guys. Thank you for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel for more awesome content like this, and I'll see you next time.